Due to some recent reports that have come out in Winnipeg, I decided to touch on some players that we could see moved here shortly. However, this time, unlike most videos, we're going to explore the likelihood of each player wanting to be traded and where they could end up. Since they won't be hitting free agency this offseason, if they are indeed unhappy with their present situations, a trade is the only answer. And with that, here are 3 NHL players that could very well be open to being traded. Shortly before the trade deadline last regular season, multiple reports were released stating that Habs defenseman Jeff Petry had submitted a trade request in an effort to relocate. Even before it was official knowledge, however, there was already a collective assumption that Petry had lost interest when it came to playing hockey in Montreal. Sure, the team wasn't doing well for a good portion of the season, but it even still was obvious at times that Petry wasn't engaged at all. However, after the request was made public, it made sense as to why Petry didn't appear to be himself. According to a radio broadcast on TSN 690, Petry actually had demanded a trade in December, months prior to when it reached the headlines. Reason being, after the Christmas break, Petry was made to leave his wife and family in his home state of Michigan. Julie, his wife, revealed that she and her 3 sons were remaining behind in order to be close to family and to live a quote, normal lifestyle, end quote. Considering the rocky start that the Habs underwent, Petry had a decent season, last campaign overall. After 27 points recorded in 68 games played, the defenseman could provide some steady offense from the back end for prospective teams. With just 1 season so far completed on his 4-year, $25 million contract, Petry would command a $6.25 million cap hit. Since we know that, according to GM Kent Hughes, that Montreal is open to trading Petry, it's not hard to wonder if he'll be in a different uniform by next season. According to an article by Pierre LeBrun from The Athletic, Dallas still remains as a definite option for Petry if John Klingberg doesn't re-up with the Stars. Detroit also is a potential fit due to, as I mentioned before, Michigan being his home state. Now obviously we've worded things in a certain way in this video so far to be able to include Gibson because the goaltender situation is pretty fascinating and complicated. Interestingly, the Anaheim Ducks are at a crossroads, meaning that GM Pat Verbeek could choose to try and chase some top-end talent this offseason, or try to continue on with a rebuild. We simultaneously have this uncertainty in Orange County, along with the fact that the goalie market is going to be very sparse this offseason. Even last deadline, really, there wasn't a lot to choose from for GMs that were looking for that top-tier starter-type option. Therefore, it's entirely possible that offers could come pouring in for Gibson that his GM won't be able to pass up on. Even though his numbers have presented themselves as mediocre more recently, considering that the Ducks haven't been a contender for a hot minute could have something to do with it. However, there have been mixed reports when it comes to Gibson's desire to stay in Anaheim. Shortly after Sportsnet's own Nick Alberga made the claim on social media that Gibson wanted to be traded, the goaltender refuted the claim in an article by The Athletic. Despite this though, Gibson only has a modified no trade clause, which means he can still be traded and would only be able to block one from 10 teams. According to an article discussing the potential of a Gibson trade by Hockey News, it suggests that the top 4 landing spots for Gibson would potentially be New Jersey, Edmonton, Toronto, or Buffalo. Taking on Gibson's $6.4 million cap hit could prove to be challenging though for Toronto and Edmonton, unless specific moves are made. For the Winnipeg Jets, it could easily be said that the team has struggled to find any stability for a while now. Jacob Trouba, Patrick Laine, and Andrew Kopp have all left Winnipeg within the past few seasons. Another huge piece of the Jets core, in Dustin Byfuglien, also parted ways with the team as well, leaving them without much of an identity afterwards. Considering the very interesting post-game interviews that we saw take place at the end of the season, it was already obvious that there was some friction going on behind the scenes in Winnipeg. And while many were speculating for a while that Mark Scheifele would be the one to go, the speculation at the present time has shifted to Jets captain Blake Wheeler. Wheeler, who's represented Winnipeg for around a decade, has been an integral part of the team's core for several years now. But despite this, the forward could be moving on to a new team here shortly. According to NHL insider Frank Saravalli, the Jets have been actively shopping their captain, who carries an annual cap hit of $6.25 million. According to an article from The Athletic, the author believes that Wheeler would be more likely now than ever to embrace the idea of moving on from Winnipeg. Parting with Wheeler theoretically would free up some needed cap room in order to sign Pierre-Luc Dubois. However, it's entirely possible that Dubois will be another star to jump ship in the end. As for Wheeler, there's no doubt that he'll be able to provide an offensive jolt for any interested team. After 60 points recorded in 65 games played, Wheeler could easily command a place within any suitor's top 6. For now, Kevin Cheveldayoff will have to wait until July 1st to trade Wheeler without his permission. Even after, however, it could still prove tricky, considering that the modified no-trade clause that's set to kick in only requires a 5-team trade list to be submitted.